And I'm in the Dirty Bird driving in a snowstorm to the start of this race. Like most men, 25 to 75, or heck, maybe even older, I've always dreamt of being the Bandit. The movie Smoking the Bandit is a cult classic, and it's just Burt Reynolds out there skirting the law, kind of sticking it to the man. And, who knows, maybe that's where I got this whole cannonball thing. It may have started there. But the dream began when my parents' neighbor bought a brand new 1977 Pontiac Trans Am in black, similar to what was in the movie. And I just remember like staring at this car and seeing myself as Burt Reynolds racing around the highways and skirting the law. And it's just something that has stuck with me. And I kept tabs on that car. When he first got it, he did drive it in the winter a couple times, but then he put it away and, it stayed in the garage. But 10 years in, the car's starting to come out during the summer under a cover. And next thing you know, we're 25, 30 years in, and the car is just living outside under a cover in various states of disrepair. But I kept tabs on it because he always serviced it at this place I used to work called Fry's Automotive. It was a automotive service center, truck center. So the guys would always tell me, oh, hey, Don, Don's Trans Am's in, he's still got it. And finally, after 40 years of ownership, the car had come in and it had a bad radiator and a fuel leak. And Don finally said, I'm done. And I had already built a 78 Trans Am resto mod, and I did a story here on VINwiki. I built it to go to a redneck fest party. So I had my dream car, but I knew that this is the car that started it all, and I've got this thing of making my childhood fantasies come true, so I just knew I had to buy this thing. I paid for the car, and it sat over at Fry's Automotive for probably a few months. I was a little worried about how much of a project it was, and it just didn't seem like something that I needed to get to right away because I knew it was going to be a big project. But my ultimate goal was I wanted to run the thing in the C2C Express. I thought, what better thing to do than to LS swap this car and take this childhood dream car of mine and do something really substantial with it. Well, when I finally got over there to go collect this 77 Trans Am, I realized that the car was actually in much better shape. Now, it had some rust on it, from sitting outside, a lot of patina, but driving the car, it actually almost drove like a new Trans Am. The interior was in really nice shape. It was just really the body that was really ugly. So I have a theory that, a car is only original once, and it just didn't feel right to kind of chop this thing up. So I knew that taking on the C2C Express was just not gonna happen. I didn't trust a 90,000 mile drivetrain to go racing across the country. So I kind of scratched that idea, but that's when Taylor Hull came out with this Southern classic. It kind of was just like in the movies. You start at the Lakewood Amphitheater, you race to Texarkana, you pick up a 6-pack of Coors, and you race back. So I figured this is probably an even better scenario because I can dress like the Bandit, and I can do what the Bandit did. And, I really didn't need to do it in any sort of great time, considering this car is so original that, how hard could I really push the thing? So over the next couple of years, I fixed the car up quite a bit. Brakes, suspension, just anything mechanical that it needed that didn't take away from the originality of it. And I actually really enjoyed driving that car because it actually got more attention than my resto mod. It just, I guess, seeing the car, it doesn't look like it should be running and driving. But what I'd end up doing is I put a full range speaker box in the back seat, and I kind of made it like the car you would have bought in like 1985 and kind of like what a burnout would drive. Something like Joe Dirt might drive. So I named the car the Dirty Bird, and I had enjoyed it for a couple of years kind of while I was fixing it up. But I was finally ready to get out and be the Bandit. I was gonna do this Southern classic. So of course I enlisted Doug, my Cannonball co-driver, to ride with me. And I was gonna dress as the Bandit, so I gave him two choices of how he could dress. He could wear a wedding dress and play the role of Sally Field or Frog, the runaway bride, or be Snowman, who was driving the truck in the movie. He chose the latter, thankfully. So it was time to run the Dirty Bird in the Southern Classic. So I had the thing loaded up in the trailer, ready to go. I'm heading towards Atlanta. I'm 30 minutes into my trip, and I get a call from Doug. He's canceling due to illness. And I was pretty devastated because, a lot had built up. I was 2 years into kind of fixing this thing up, and this was going to be the time I run. So I turned around and headed home, just thinking, well, that's it for me. I'm home. It's an evening now, and I'm kind of moping around the house. And my wife she's very supportive of all this madness that I've got going on. And she's like, like, is there still a chance you could do, like, why don't you just go down? Is there someone else that could go with you? And I'm just like, well, yeah, Bradley Young was building a Trans Am of his own, LS swapping it, and he didn't get it done in time. Like, I guess maybe he'd be interested in going. She's like, yeah, I'd rather have you go out and try than mope around the house all weekend. So I gave Bradley a call, and sure enough, he threw his hat in the ring right away. And I'm like, all right, well, I did some calculations. By now it's the evening. I'm like, well, if I drive through the night, I can make it there to the drivers' meeting in Atlanta. So I headed out. So I made it to the lunch drivers' meeting just as it was ending. I had stopped to sleep a couple hours, but I had made it. And we went out in the parking lot, and I got to see, who I'd be competing against. And there was some really stiff competition. So Resto Mods, there's a Chevelle with an LS3, another Chevelle with a big block, a really mean-looking Ford Fairmont, another Trans Am that got some crazy suspension and wheels and tires and brakes, like some really stiff competition. But the car I favored to win the most, and I thought was the coolest, was there was a 1984 Ferrari 308 GTS Quattro Valve. And I just thought, that's the car that's going to win. And how cool that someone would take a car like that and run it in a race like this. I thought it was awesome. But, I was going into this like I wanted a car just to make it back. Like, I had no intention of going fast. I didn't really think that this car had the stamina to do it. So I brought the car out, and everyone's expecting me to bring some nuclear bomb to a knife fight. So I pull the car out, and everyone's like kind of looking like, this is what you're running? Like I popped the hood, and they're like, oh, wow, okay. So I think they kind of like counted me out at that point. I mean, I counted myself out, like how fast could this car run? But we wrapped up with the lunch meeting, and I headed over to Bradley's to go catch a nap before our 1 a.m. departure time. So I was hoping with a early morning start, we'd be able to use the night to make some time. But on the way to the start at the Lakewood Amphitheater, it started to snow. Like, what are the odds that it's going to snow in Atlanta? But, I suppose it's late January. I suppose that's a thing that can happen. But we're heading over there. I'm dressed as Burt Reynolds. Bradley is dressed as Burt Reynolds. And I'm in the Dirty Bird driving in a snowstorm to the start of this race. So I punched the clock at 1 a.m. and we headed off. And we were driving westbound, so we were driving into this storm, and it started to dry up, and I was able to kind of raise the speed. So my thought was, from hearing everyone talk about these Pontiac 400 motors, they say don't hold it over 3,000 RPM for a sustained amount of time. So that was about 100 miles an hour. So I figured, okay, I could run this car up to about 100 miles an hour and make this run, and it should survive. But the car just wanted to go faster. And slowly I inched it up to 110, and the car was just absolutely magical. So then before I knew it, I was all the way up 118 miles an hour in this car, as fast as it would go, and it was just eating up the miles. It was also eating up the gas, about 150 mile range or so. So we were making a lot of fuel stops. So after the second fuel stop, I decided to hand the reins over to Bradley. We're making our way to Texarkana, and everything is going perfect. The car is running like a top, and we're getting close to Texarkana, and we pass one of the other competitors, this 300D Mercedes, and we blow past them, kind of waving, feeling really good about ourselves, until we miss the exit for the gas stop. So we had to make the embarrassing trip back as they were wrapping up their fuel stop. We pull in, I fill up, Bradley runs and grabs the last pack of Coors Banquet. Thankfully, I've got that as a little memento. So we pile back in the car, and off I'm back, heading eastbound and down. And everything's going great. The police presence is not too terrible until we get to Monroe County, Louisiana. They have a full-on bounty for any speeders there. They've got an airplane. They've got radar and laser traps. Thankfully, we had Mason running overhead, so he was able to kind of let us know. Got through that unscathed, but not everybody did. You know, they got a few of us, but we get through that. We're coming back, running into some traffic, getting back into Atlanta. And it was at that time that Mason kind of reached out and he said, you know, you guys are tracking to, you're looking like first place. So I couldn't even fathom like how we were in first place. It was crazy to me. We were averaging in the low 90s for speed, which is pretty good, but I thought for sure these resto-modded cars had to be running faster than we were, but apparently they weren't. And I remember pulling in to the Lakewood Amphitheater, punching the clock, and we had done it in 15 hours and 1 minute. It's like 1,375 miles. We had an overall average speed of 91 miles an hour, moving average 95, 9 fuel stops. And somehow I was first place. But reports started coming back that the Ferrari was hot on my tail. The LS3 resto-modded Chevelle was right behind him, and it was going to be close. I enjoyed my first place status for probably about half an hour, and here comes a Ferrari skidding to a stop, 14 hours and 46 minutes. I had lost first place, but you know, I figured if I could hold on to second place, this is still a pretty good story. So the Chevelle comes right in behind him with a 15 hours and 2 minutes. By 1 minute, I'm still on the podium, second place, and that's where I landed. So very happy with that, never planning that I could ever, like I wasn't expecting to be in the top 10. Really, the car I felt had magical powers. I didn't attribute it to me at all. So after the race, I thought for sure there was going to be damage to the engine. There's no way that I was sustaining 3,800 RPM, which is like the red line of this car, which is hilarious if you think about it. But I thought for sure I was going to had to smoke these bearings. There's no way that this car survived. It was still running fine, but I knew when I took apart this oil filter and looked at the media, for sure it's going to look like a disco ball. And to my surprise, absolutely clean. In every oil change since, it's perfectly clean. The car still runs perfectly after that kind of abuse. I mean, we're talking, you know, this engine's 45 years old, has never been opened up. Transmission, differential, all original. This car, definitely magical powers. But I got to do the ultimate bucket list item. I was the bandit.
Have you ever gotten an automated speeding ticket either from a fixed position camera or a school zone? In the US, that's less common than it is in Europe, and most of the time when you get the notification, they'll tell you that it's just about the payment, that they're not going to report anything. As long as you pay your speeding ticket, you won't have any points on your license or any additional risks. But did you know that those are some of the easiest tickets of all to fight and beat, especially with a partner like the Ticket Clinic? In Florida so far, they are 500-0. They've never lost fighting one of these tickets. So not only can they get them totally thrown out, but they can save you a ton of money. So check them out now at the link in the description below. You can actually just take a picture of your ticket, no matter when it comes in the mail or how you're issued a ticket, and text that picture to 305-305, and that'll get them on the case immediately. They'll let you know exactly what the proper course of action is and what their strategies are for every local municipality or jurisdiction to get your ticket dealt with. And of course, for regular tickets, for speeding tickets and things like that, the Ticket Clinic is your perfect partner to fight every one. They'll help you avoid costly fines, risk of license suspension, points on your license, jail time, higher insurance premiums, all the bad things that come with getting a bad ticket. The Ticket Clinic can help. They've got a nationwide network of attorneys that can help you find the perfect local partner that knows your area, knows your county, knows everything about it, and can help you fight your ticket and achieve the best possible outcome. So check them out now at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.